Picture this: October 5th, 2003, Katmai National Park, Alaska. A float plane lands on the shore of a remote lake, surrounded by wilderness. The pilot, Willie Fulton, has come to pick up two people who've been camping here for months: Timothy Treadwell, 46 years old, and his girlfriend Amie Huguenard, 37 years old. But when the pilot approaches their campsite, something is wrong. The tent is collapsed. Equipment is scattered. There's an eerie silence. And then he sees it, a large male grizzly bear, standing near the camp, defensive, aggressive. The pilot radios for help. Alaska State Troopers arrive. Rangers arrive. They approach carefully, weapons ready. They scare the bear away. And then they find what's left of Timothy and Amie. Their bodies are partially consumed, torn apart. The bear has been feeding on them. Nearby, investigators find a video camera. It's damaged, but the tape inside is intact. They play it back, hoping for clues about what happened. There's no video. The lens cap was on, but there is audio. 6 minutes of audio. The camera was recording when the attack happened, and what's on that tape is one of the most horrifying recordings ever made. You hear Timothy Treadwell screaming, "Get out here! I'm getting killed out here!" You hear Amie screaming. You hear the sounds of the attack: growling, thrashing, terror, pain, death. The audio has never been released to the public. Only a few people have heard it: investigators, family members, the documentary filmmaker Werner Herzog. Those who've heard it say it's unbearable, horrifying beyond description. This is the story of Timothy Treadwell, the man who spent 13 summers living alone with grizzly bears in Alaska, who believed he had a special connection with them, who thought he could live among them as one of them, and the tragic, brutal reality of what happened when one of those bears turned on him. Let me take you through Timothy's life, his obsession with grizzly bears, the 13 years he spent in the Alaskan wilderness, and the final moments captured on audio, the day the bears he loved killed him. Timothy Treadwell wasn't always Timothy Treadwell. He was born Timothy William Dexter on April 29, 1957, in Long Island, New York. He grew up in a middle-class family. He was athletic, popular, good-looking. He dreamed of becoming an actor. In his 20s, Timothy moved to California to pursue acting. He had some minor success, small roles, auditions, the typical struggling actor life, but he also struggled with other things. He drank heavily. He used drugs. He was arrested multiple times. He battled depression and addiction. By his early 30s, Timothy hit rock bottom. He overdosed on heroin and nearly died. He woke up in a hospital, broken, lost, unsure of what to do with his life. And then in 1989, something changed. Timothy took a trip to Alaska. He visited Katmai National Park, a vast wilderness area famous for its population of grizzly bears. And when he saw the bears, massive, powerful, wild, something shifted inside him. He felt a connection, a purpose. He believed the bears needed him. He believed he could protect them. He believed he was meant to live among them. From that moment, Timothy Treadwell's life became consumed by grizzly bears. He changed his name legally from Timothy Dexter to Timothy Treadwell, a name he thought sounded more rugged, more wild. He founded an organization called Grizzly People, dedicated to bear conservation and education. He started raising money to fund trips to Alaska. And every summer from 1990 onward, Timothy returned to Katmai National Park. He set up camp in the wilderness, alone, surrounded by grizzly bears, and he stayed for months. At first he went for a few weeks, then a month, then 2 months, then entire summers, 13 consecutive years, spending up to 5 months each year living in the wild with the bears. Timothy didn't just observe the bears from a distance. He got close, dangerously close. He approached them. He talked to them. He gave them names: Mr. Chocolate, Sergeant Brown, Rowdy, the Grinch. He sat near them while they fished for salmon. He filmed them constantly with his video camera. He believed he had a special connection with them. He believed they recognized him, trusted him, accepted him as one of them. He called himself their protector, their guardian. But here's the thing: the bears didn't need protection. Katmai National Park is a protected area. Hunting is illegal there. The bears are safe. They have abundant food. Salmon runs every summer. They're thriving. Park rangers repeatedly told Timothy this. They told him the bears didn't need him. They told him he was putting himself in danger. They told him to keep his distance. It's a federal law: you must stay at least 50 yards away from bears in national parks. Timothy ignored them. He got closer, sometimes within 10 feet of bears, sometimes closer. He sat next to them. He touched them. He talked to them in a high-pitched, childlike voice, calling them his friends. And for 13 years he survived. 13 summers in the Alaskan wilderness, living among some of the largest and most dangerous predators on the planet. And nothing bad happened. Until it did. Timothy filmed everything. Over 13 years he recorded over 100 hours of video footage of himself and the bears. He narrated constantly, talking to the camera like a nature documentary host. He shared his thoughts, his feelings, his philosophies. In the footage you see Timothy sitting near grizzly bears as they fish for salmon. You see him approaching cubs, one of the most dangerous things you can do, because mother bears are fiercely protective. You see him getting closer and closer, testing boundaries. He talks about how much he loves the bears, how they're his family, how he understands them, how they understand him. He cries on camera, talking about how beautiful they are, how he would die for them. He also rants. He's angry at park rangers who tell him to leave. He's angry at the National Park Service for enforcing rules. He's paranoid, believing that poachers are coming to kill the bears, even though hunting is illegal in the park. He positions himself as their defender, even though there's nothing to defend them from. Friends and bear experts who watched his footage were alarmed. They saw someone losing touch with reality, someone projecting human emotions onto wild animals, someone taking increasingly reckless risks. Bear experts repeatedly warned Timothy. They told him grizzly bears are not your friends. They tolerate your presence because you're not threatening them, and there's abundant food, but they are wild animals, unpredictable, dangerous. If conditions change, if food becomes scarce, if a bear is injured or stressed, if you get too close at the wrong moment, they will kill you. Timothy dismissed these warnings. He believed he was different, special, that the bears loved him. But the experts were right, because grizzly bears don't love. They don't form emotional bonds with humans. They are apex predators, driven by instinct, survival, and hunger. And in October 2003, one of those bears killed Timothy Treadwell. By 2003, Timothy had been living with the bears for 13 years. That summer, his girlfriend Amie Huguenard accompanied him to Katmai. Amie was afraid of bears. She didn't share Timothy's obsession, but she loved him, and she wanted to support him, so she went. Most years Timothy left Alaska in late September, before the weather turned and the bears entered hibernation, but in 2003, he stayed longer. Into early October, the salmon runs were over, food was scarce, the bears were hungry, preparing for winter, more aggressive than usual. Experienced guides and rangers knew this was the most dangerous time to be near bears, but Timothy stayed. On October 5, 2003, pilot Willie Fulton flew to Timothy's campsite to pick him up. When he arrived, he immediately knew something was wrong. The campsite was destroyed, the tent was collapsed, equipment was scattered, and there was a large male grizzly bear near the camp, acting aggressively. Willie radioed for help. Alaska state troopers and park rangers flew in. They approached cautiously, armed. The bear charged at them. They shot and killed it. Then they found the bodies. Timothy and Amie were dead. Their remains were partially consumed. The bear had been feeding on them. Investigators searched the campsite. They found Timothy's video camera. It was damaged, but the tape inside was intact. They hoped it would show what happened. But when they played the tape, there was no video. The lens cap had been left on. However, the camera had been recording audio. 6 minutes and 3 seconds of audio. The camera was on during the attack. What's on that tape has been described by those who've heard it as one of the most disturbing recordings in existence. The audio begins with the sounds of a struggle, then Timothy's voice shouting, "Get out here, I'm getting killed out here, go away, get away." You hear Amie screaming Timothy's name, you hear her crying, terrified. You hear the bear, growling, the sounds of the attack, thrashing, violent, brutal sounds. Timothy screams at Amie to run, to save herself. She doesn't, she stays, trying to fight the bear off, trying to save him. You hear her hitting the bear with a frying pan, it does nothing. The attack continues, for 6 minutes, and then the audio ends. The tape has never been publicly released. Only a handful of people have heard it. Alaska state troopers, medical examiners, Timothy's close friends, and filmmaker Werner Herzog, who made a documentary about Timothy called Grizzly Man. Herzog listened to the tape once, with headphones, while sitting with Timothy's ex-girlfriend Jewel Polovak, who owned the camera. After listening, Herzog told her, "You must never listen to this, and you should destroy it, because it will be the white elephant in your room all your life." Jewel kept the tape but never listened to it. It remains locked away, private, out of respect for Timothy and Amie. Those who have heard it describe it as unbearable. Jewel Polovak said people who've listened to it are traumatized. One investigator said it was the worst thing he'd ever heard in his career. The audio captures the final moments of two people being killed by a wild animal. It's not quick, it's not painless, it's brutal, terrifying, and real. After the attack, investigators tried to piece together what happened. The bear that killed Timothy and Amie was an older male, estimated to be 28 years old. He was not one of the bears Timothy had been filming and interacting with for years. He was an unfamiliar bear, likely drawn to the campsite by the smell of food or the presence of humans. It was early October. The salmon runs were over. Food was scarce. Bears were in hyperphagia, a pre-hibernation state where they eat as much as possible to build fat reserves for winter. A hungry bear is a dangerous bear. Timothy and Amie were in their tent when the bear approached. Timothy went outside to confront it, trying to scare it away, but the bear attacked. Amie stayed in the tent initially, but when she heard Timothy screaming, she came out to help. The bear killed them both. Investigators also found the remains of the bear after they shot it. Inside its stomach were human remains, parts of Timothy and Amie. The bear had been consuming them. A second bear was also killed near the campsite. It had also been feeding on the bodies. Both bears were likely attracted to the site after the initial attack. Timothy Treadwell's death was entirely preventable. He violated basic safety rules. He stayed too late in the season. He camped in an area with no escape route. He got too close to wild animals, and he ignored every warning from experts. But in his mind he believed he was safe. He believed the bears loved him. He believed he was special. He was wrong. Timothy Treadwell's story is tragic, controversial, and deeply complicated. Some people see him as a hero, a passionate conservationist who dedicated his life to protecting bears. Others see him as reckless, delusional, and ultimately responsible for his own death and the death of his girlfriend. Werner Herzog's documentary Grizzly Man, released in 2005, explores Timothy's life through his own footage. It's a haunting, beautiful, and deeply sad film. Herzog doesn't glorify Timothy. He presents him as he was passionate, troubled, obsessed, and ultimately self-destructive. In the documentary, bear experts and people who knew Timothy express mixed feelings. Some admired his passion, others were frustrated by his recklessness. Many believe he did more harm than good. By approaching bears so closely, he may have habituated them to humans, making them more dangerous to future visitors. And then there's Amie. She didn't want to be there. She was afraid, but she loved Timothy, and she stayed with him, and she died because of it. Some people blame Timothy for her death. If he hadn't been so reckless, she'd still be alive. Timothy's family has defended him. They say he was misunderstood, that he truly cared about bears, that his death was a tragic accident, not the inevitable result of his actions. But the facts are clear. Timothy Treadwell spent 13 years pushing boundaries, taking risks, ignoring warnings, and eventually, he paid the price. Grizzly bears are not gentle giants. They are not misunderstood creatures who just need love. They are apex predators. They are wild. They are dangerous. And no amount of love or good intentions changes that. Timothy wanted to believe he could transcend the barrier between human and animal. He wanted to be accepted by the bears as one of them. But that's not how nature works. The bears tolerated him for 13 years, not because they loved him, but because conditions allowed it. When conditions changed, when food was scarce, when a hungry bear encountered him, nature took its course. October 5, 2003, Katmai National Park, Alaska. Timothy Treadwell and Amie Huguenard were killed by a grizzly bear. Their final moments were captured on audio. 6 minutes of terror, screaming, and death. A recording so disturbing it has never been released. Timothy spent 13 years living with grizzly bears, believing he had a special connection with them. He filmed over 100 hours of footage. He called them his friends, his family. He believed he was protecting them. But in the end, a bear killed him and ate him, because that's what bears do. They are not friends. They are not family. They are wild animals, driven by instinct and survival. Timothy Treadwell's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of romanticizing nature, about the difference between passion and delusion, about the importance of respecting boundaries, physical, psychological, and natural. He loved bears, but love doesn't protect you from a predator, and passion doesn't make you invincible. 13 years in the wilderness, 13 summers with grizzly bears, and in the end it took just 6 minutes for one of them to kill him. The audio tape remains locked away. The images of what was found at the campsite remain private. But the story lives on, a tragic reminder that nature is beautiful, powerful, and indifferent to our feelings. Timothy Treadwell, the Grizzly Man, the man who loved bears so much he forgot they were wild, and paid for it with his life.